back to them. Why is it so important to you, do you think, to have that fight in Philly?
It's very important to have a fight in Philly because they never had a big fight here in I don't know how long, it's since back in the day. So I feel like me being the first big fight here is going to be, wonderful. And I think that's what the city needs, and I think that's going to bring back, that Philly, grit and talent and that everything was Philly missing.
You were upgraded from interim RBF champ to full champ back in November. Has anything changed for you off the back of that?
Nothing changed, I'm still the same person, I'm just the same guy.
Terence Crawford is a name that you've publicly reached out to. Do you think he wants the fight?
I'm not sure if Terence Crawford wants the fight or not. He went out publicly a few times saying that he's not looking my direction, he's not looking my way. I'm not a big enough name. I'm not this, I'm not that. But there's nobody else left for him to fight. Either you fight me or you fight nobody. So I don't know.
If it's not Terence, you must have a hit list. Can you name some guys that are on that?
I don't have a hit list. I just want to fight. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Terence, Spence, anybody in 154, anybody in 47. I just want.
So I took a nap today around like 1 p.m. I think around the time I remember where I put my phone down. And a press release came out. Let's see what time was that. Not long after, I think it was like 1:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that Boots Ennis, IBF champion from Philadelphia, has signed with Matchroom Boxing. In a surprise move that I really didn't see coming. Long-time Showtime fighter, fight on PBC cards. I remember the narrative several months ago was that if you fight on PBC cards, you were a PBC fighter. But it's been known that Boots Ennis has had a promotional, or I guess we could say a promotional broadcast deal with Showtime, not necessarily PBC. Except, once again, he's been fighting on PBC cards. So many may have considered him a PBC fighter. I'm TstreeT Controversy with Fight View 360. I don't even know where to begin. First, let's go over a little bit of news here on how Boots Ennis ended up with Matchroom Eddie Hearn. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe.
Y'all make the fight happen. That's the fight that we want. Make it happen. You know what I mean? And we can get it on. So he says, what about you coming up? I said, no. I'm with Showtime. You know what I mean? I said, now, you want to make the fight, you call Steven Espinoza and talk to him and discuss that. Because that's who we with, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know? And when I said that, I said, plus I'm loyal to these guys. I don't just leave and go to another, promotional company or whatever you are. And he says, okay, because it'd be nice if you come over. I said, okay, yeah, I know that's, was a couple days later, I guess when they called him, 3-4 days later. And I talked to Steve, and I said, Steve, what'd they say? He said they was talking stuff, but they wasn't talking about him fighting Boots, you know what I mean? Like that. I said, yeah, but that's what they were supposed to have been talking about. He said, yeah, we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna discuss what we're gonna do with with Terence and Boots. That's what, what I mean? I said, yeah, well, if you want to fight, just let me know. That's just what Steven said, right? And they said, well, we'll call you later on. Never called him back. That's what happened. So they trying to say that we never turned the fight. I talked to Terence last night. We never turned the fight down. We've been wanting to fight Terence way back. So you already know that.
Yeah, was Terence under the impression that you turned down the fight?
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said. But I don't know who he was talking to with that, about that. You know what I mean? But we never turned down a fight. I said, now listen this. This is what I told Terence last night. You could have fought us, but you're going to fight Avenesia. And then I said, Avenesia, you could have fought us. And then Terence said, well, Boots could have been number one in the WBO. I said, Boots wasn't number one in the WBO. What's my man name? Virgil Ortiz. He was number one, and just somebody else. And Boots is number 3, I think, in that organization.
Number 2 and number 3, yeah.
Right. You're number 2 and number 3. So we was number 1 in Spence organization, the IBF. That's who he's going after. That's why,
So many conflicting stories there. So what I'm getting from it is, if you don't remember this interview, by the way, go check out YSM Sports Media. He is deeply entrenched in the Boots Ennis camp. That is the father of Boots Ennis right here. So once again, we really don't know what happened, but it looks like BOK Prime wanted to sign Boots Ennis, and that's how he would have got the Crawford fight. Something that Crawford is, he didn't want to just have to sign with PBC to get the Spence fight. Eventually, he ended up doing it. We're talking about early in his career. But what I'm gathering from it is that there were some type of talks out there, but Boots Ennis' team wasn't willing to, and I can understand the business point. I talked about this a year ago. I can understand the business point of we're not going to just leave Espinoza, who we're loyal to over here. And then they say, you know what, all right, Espinoza, we out. But in reality, looking back at it, for example, what has Boots Ennis really been doing since, which is one of the reasons why he's with Matchroom now. So here's from Dan Rayfield's Fight Freaks Unite here. According to sources, there were negotiations between Ennis and TGB Promotions, that's Heyman, the promotional company he uses, for him to continue appearing on PBC cards, which are now on Prime Video. However, those talks broke off in recent days when they were unable to come to an agreement. I wonder what the agreement what PBC was offering. That left an opening for Hearn to sign Ennis, a fighter who he has often talked about in glowing terms and has long been interested in signing. What is signing Hearn? He said, this is just from the press release, this stuff right here. So there was an IBS purse bid for a fight between Boots and Cody Crowley scheduled for last month, but canceled when the IBF said it was notified that they made a deal. So is it Cody Crowley next? Is Cody Crowley next going over to Matchroom? Is that going to be Boots' fight when he first fights for Matchroom against Cody Crowley, maybe in Philly? The expectation was that if Crowley signed, and he already turned down $600,000 for the fight last fall, sources told Fight Freaks Tonight he turned down $600,000. Ennis Crowley would have landed on PBC on Prime in June or July. However, with Crowley still with PBC and Ennis now with Matchroom and the fight night signed, a purse bid could be scheduled. That's probably Eddie Hearn's plan, is to have the IBF mandatory, get Boots a big payday. What is it, 75-25 split if it goes to a purse bid for Crowley? May end up looking bad for Crowley if he turned in at $600,000. So it looks like he wants to do that next to make sure Boots keeps that belt, that IBF. And an interesting scenario is Boots should have been Errol Spence's mandatory, but then once Crawford got the belt, Crawford was stripped and Boots was elevated. So now the question is, and let's go look at the rankings here at 147 pounds, is it still possible to see the Boots Ennis Terrence Crawford fight? Possibly. My bad, allergies. I'm sorry if I sound a little nasally. At 147 pounds, because Crawford still got his WBC, and it looks like he's still holding on to his WBA. Jonas is going to be taking on Maastricht for the WBA World or Inner. How's this working? We got to figure out what's going on with that. That's going to be an undercard of Canelo Munguia, May the 4th. It's April the 10th right now. Terrence Crawford has been stripped of his WBO. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. He hasn't been stripped. He's moved. He's invoked his mandatory. He's been stripped of the IBF. He's invoked his mandatory 154-pound status as being mandatory. He still has the WBO, but he plans on moving to 154. Rumors are that he wants to fight Israel Madrimov, and it will be in Saudi. Fundora has the WBO and the WBC, but suspended in Vegas until November. Bakram Murtazaliev just won the IBF. But it's been heavily speculated. I did a video on it that Terrence Crawford has signed or in talks to sign with the Saudis. And an offer was sent from the Saudis for the Crawford fight to Fundora. Fundora's handler, promoter, manager, Samson Lukovitz, confirmed this on the Boxing Voice last week, that an offer came from the Saudis for Terrence Crawford, but he said they're not going to entertain anything until November. So could the Saudis through Matchroom send Crawford for Crawford's side a deal to Boots after, of course, he defends his mandatory fight against Cody Crowley? And will that Cody Crowley fight be in Philly next? He's supposed to return in June. Meaning Boots Ennis, and he's been on for some time now. By the time he gets in the ring, he'll be going on a year layoff. He fought Avila last year in July. It's April now. This guy he didn't look good against. Let's go to Karen. Custio Clayton, one fight in 2022. So interesting. So we're gonna wait for this story to develop some more, and it's gonna be funny to see how narratives are gonna change on Boots now that he's with Matchroom. I'm interested to see how this is going to turn out. And also, there's that Conor Benn fight out there because Conor Benn seemed to have known something because he posted this 2 days ago, about 3 days ago on his social media. So he must have knew something, but he's got his own shit he's dealing with. But I would love to see him beat up Conor Benn, personally. So already you got 3 potential fights right there. Of course, IBF mandatory Cody Crowley. That goes to purse bid, is looking like. You have the Terrence Crawford possible. And then we definitely know the Conor Benn fights out there. And let's see, who else, looking at the rankings, you could possibly see him against. Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall winner, that's out there. Politically meaning, and this is at 147. We're not talking about 154 yet, even though Boots has been flirting with 154. Those are the fights I'm seeing. Virgil Ortiz. Well, he's at 154 now, so we can't count him. So we got at least 3 fights right there. Cody Crowley via purse bid. Possibly Terrence Crawford. But now that he's going to be on Terrence Crawford, it's like, hey, look, Boots now politically, it's a fight that could possibly happen. I wonder if Crawford will get shit if he completely vacates 147 because he's been undisputed and just fights Madrimov and says, you know what? No, I'm over here now. I'm at 154. I'm not going back down to 147. Even though I always wanted to see the Haney versus Loma rematch, I never clown fighters for moving up in weight and staying up in weight. It's like it's different when you do some bullshit and you move up in weight to avoid a fight or then move back down. Kind of like what Canelo did when he was bullshitting around with Golovkin. When he fought Liam Smith, got butt naked on the scales, boiled down to 154, and then fought, saying he was too small for 160, and then fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. at 164.5. Didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, things just got interesting. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. I'm TstreeT Controversy with 5U360.